What is up, my friends? It is Sunday night and you are very welcome along to tonight's late night agenda. We're going to be discussing the farewell to Ibrahim Konate as the club confirmed his departure, and Ibu, of course, gave a few words as well. We'll discuss that tonight. I know you're probably thinking about the SALAH stuff. What? Come on, Craig. He's not staying. I'm not the one trying to say he's staying. Sky Sports reported that the Athletic said he could reconsider his position. We'll talk about that tonight as well. And the IRAOLA thing, we're going to discuss, will he be coming in as a manager or as a head coach? Because there seems to be some conjecture about which one of those two roles he will take up, if indeed it is confirmed that he becomes the next Liverpool gaffer. Now, it looks as if it's trending in that direction, but there have been a few other names that have been doing the rounds today as, I guess, potentials as the club look to cover all bases. So a bit more information has come out over the last 24 hours than we had yesterday, and I'll do my best to convey as much of that to you guys as I can this evening. As always, any questions or anything you have, please feel free to throw it into the chat and I'll do my best to get to it. The first poll question that we have for tonight is kind of based off a report from James Pearce that reckons that Liverpool may not necessarily look to the centre-back market this summer. And I just want to ask the question, would it be a mistake for Liverpool to not look to strengthen a centre-back this summer? Again, maybe Joe Gomez staying, the club feel like they could have enough there. We'll talk about what that could mean, and of course, we want your take on it. So we'll revisit that poll in a little while and see how you guys are feeling about it. But as always, it's your show, so let me know what you'd like to discuss. How about we start off with Ibrahim Konate's farewell? Because that feels like a good fitting place for us to start this evening. So first of all, the official word came from Liverpool Football Club, and the club posted this today. Liverpool FC can confirm Ibrahim Konate is set to leave the club upon the expiry of his contract this summer. Konate will depart with our gratitude and appreciation for the contribution he made, and everybody at the club wishes him the best for the future. And here's what Ibu himself had to say. Dear Liverpool, 5 years ago, I arrived as a young player with big dreams. Today, I leave with memories that will stay with me for the rest of my life. Representing this club has been an honour. We've shared incredible moments together, highs and lows, trophies, challenges, lifelong friendships, and heartbreaking moments that will stay with us forever. None more painful than losing our brother Diogo. Losing my father this year was one of the hardest periods of my life. But even through hardship, my commitment to this club never changed. During the toughest moments, I gave everything I had for the badge. To my teammates, coaches, staff, and everybody behind the scenes, thank you for helping me grow every single day. And to the supporters, thank you for your love, your energy, and your incredible support. Anfield is a truly special place, and playing in front of you was something I never took for granted. I'm deeply saddened that I didn't get the chance to say goodbye to you all at the last game. At that moment, I didn't know if it would be my final time wearing this shirt in front of you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for everything. I love you all and will carry Liverpool with me wherever I go. This isn't an easy goodbye, but it's time for a new challenge and a new chapter. See you again soon. Inshallah, you'll never walk alone. So that was Ivu's very classy signing off letter. And look, I know I speak for all of us when we say thank you to Konate for his service to the club. Like any player, there will be ups and downs, but if I can give you my own personal favourite Konate moment, it has to be his arrival video. You know, when him and all of his mates were in Paris and he arrived, I think, in a Golf GTI, and he got into the little football pitch with the cage around it and all of his mates were there. It was brilliant. It really was brilliant. And you know, Konate has been a part of our success here at the club. And like I said, any other player, he had ups and downs this season as well. You know, we didn't really know which version was going to show up. But of course, we didn't know about his father's illness and then, of course, his tragic passing. So for me, anyway, I'll always look back on Konate's time here favourably. It's never great seeing a player leave on a free contract in the prime of their career, but that's a different conversation. For Konate and his time at the club, I think it's fair to say he did give it all, and he did always try his best. So for that, and he looked to be a great lad around the dressing room as well. Seen lots of videos of him, you know, getting jokes going and stuff like that. So yeah, classy from Konate, and well done to the club on that one as well. So that is what we had from Mr. Ibu today. And again, let me know your thoughts on what the big man had to say in a send-off. Right, where are we? Isaac said, did you see the news about Connor Bradley? Definitely need a right back. Sad to see Konate go. Definitely had the biggest Divock in the changing room. I don't want to read the word out, but yes, I did see the news about Connor Bradley, and honestly, I still don't really know much more than Chris Williams posted last night. I don't really know the extent of it, or the ins and outs of it. So yeah, look, of course, until we know that, it's not really fair of me to comment on something that I've got zero knowledge of. But we do need to look at the right back market now. Then there's no denying that. And what happens with Bradley longer term? Look, I really don't know yet, but I do know that we have to go out and get a right back in this window. And who that right back's going to be, I have no idea at this point. Of course, we're still waiting for the confirmation of IRAOLA, and it looks like we could expect that appointment when it comes, maybe midweek next week, at least according to many journalist reports today around the situation. So I'll do my best to take you through a few other bits and pieces over the course of the next hour or two. But yeah, it seems like a good kicking off point for us this evening. Monster Madness, how are you, my friend? So I think Chiesa and Gravenberch will do good under IRAOLA. I've heard Wharton is going to Chelsea and we're getting Scott. Would you take both if possible? So, look, I'm a fan of Wharton. I do. I think he's a very good player. Alex Scott, I'm a little bit less knowledgeable on, but seemingly a very good up-and-coming young player. Obviously, Andoni Iraola worked with him, would know all about him. Yeah, look, I really don't know what's going to happen with the midfield situation. With Chiesa, I still would be surprised if he stays at the club at this point, but I guess if Chiesa does stay, it's going to be a pretty clear indication that he also wasn't really getting along too well with Arna, or at least didn't feel like he was getting a fair go under Arna. So, yeah, look, at this point, I'm like every other Liverpool fan. I don't want to see us have an exodus of players and a shortfall next season going in with a bench that just won't be long enough or strong enough. I did like a comment from Simon Brundish earlier on where like he quoted what a lot of Liverpool fans have said over the past day or two, which is Iraola is going to have to somehow find a way to play high intensity, high press football twice a week. And as Simon rightly pointed out, pretty much did that with Jurgen for 8 years. He found a way to be able to do it. So I've been spending the day looking at loads of Iraola videos, you know, some coaching masterclass stuff, just to try and get a bit more understanding about his footballing principles. And I genuinely feel excited about it. But I have to say what everybody else has said. Any new coach is always coming with inherent risk. Nothing is a guarantee. But like we said yesterday, it really does feel like the goodwill is there at this point. And goodwill will go a long way. But what the first season starts with, I really don't know. And I really don't know what the expectation should be as a Liverpool fan to go into the season. So I'm kind of coming into it with an open mind. And 1 second. I have to say, preparing for this stream tonight, it's been night and day compared to preparing for streams over the past 6 months. Because I knew I didn't have to come on and talk about what might happen with SALAH. I knew I didn't have to come on and talk about frustrations. We can finally look ahead. And it only hit me last night at about 2 a.m. So I'd finished all my work yesterday and I was starting to chill out on the sofa with the missus and watch a little bit of TV. And then a smile just came across my face. Not because I was, you know, gloating about Arna being gone or anything, but I felt that sense of anticipation again. I felt that sense of excitement again about what might come this season. And it just feels like a lot of people have had a weight lifted off their shoulders, or, you know, a fog lifted at this point, and we can start to dream a little bit, you know, and start to look forward to the new season. Because it's been a really tough year for all of us. You know, we've all had moments that maybe we regret, maybe we went a bit too strong on, moments where we certainly didn't like what we were seeing. But all of that now is, you know, it's past us and we get to look forward. Benny said, "Hey Craig, any chance we'll see Anfield Agenda shirts? I'll buy one. Might I suggest an idea for an Anfield Agenda army? Love you, bud." So we do have a shirt for the football club that we sponsor. Let me show it to you. Where is it? I don't know if I have one in the frame here or if I just... Yeah, I'll show you this. So we sponsor a local team here called Courtown Hibs in the area where we live. And this is the shirt that we sponsor for them. Well, oh God, it's never the right size, is it? 1 second. So we were thinking of getting some more of these made up, you know, kind of to help the football club out as well. But sorry, my dumb ass never gets these things the right size. But yeah, so that's it there. That's the shirt that we have that you'll see it hanging up in the studio. But that's the one that we did for Courtown Hibs for their team, and maybe we could do something there. Do you know what, Benny? I'll be honest with you, dude. I still think of us as tiny Anfield Agenda, and I've never really I've never really thought about merchandise too much because I don't like trying to sell you things. It doesn't feel a natural fit for us here. So, you know, something like that maybe. We did have an idea about an Anfield Agenda gift box where, you know, we sell the shirt and there's a few other bits in it. With the proceeds maybe going to the football club or something like that. But yeah, leave it with me, man. We'll always have a chat. You know, our family's always grown. So maybe it is time to maybe revisit the whole Anfield Agenda merch thing. I don't know. Petter said, when is the studio ready? We should be in there. You should get a stream from it on Wednesday. That's the plan. Yeah, stream on Wednesday is the plan, and we'll take it from there. Hopefully, if it all goes to plan, Petter, you know, sometimes these things fall away if there's a technical issue, but that's the plan. So the first piece of content is going to be going out on Anfield Agenda Extra tomorrow, and that will be myself and Connor sitting down, having a podcast and talking about the managerial situation. So if you're not aware, we have Anfield Agenda Clips. We're rebranding that now to Anfield Agenda Extra. Lewis and Bent are going to be helping us there, putting out videos on it as well. And the first bit of content tomorrow will be myself and Connor talking about the managerial situation. So if you haven't already, please do subscribe. Right. Lightmaster Lee, how are you, my friend? Said, hey Craig, love the channel. Thank you. Really kind of you, mate. With Leo now a free agent, do you think we'll sign him as a new winger? No, I don't. Unless IRAOLA feels he can get something out of him that not really many other managers have been able to do, which is an off-the-ball work rate. You know, there's nobody going to sit here and deny that Rafa Leao is anything but a good, talented footballer. But with what we're going to need and the buy-in we're going to need from the players, I just don't know if he'd be a natural fit for Liverpool. Look, the £40 million price tag that I think I've seen mentioned feels like a reasonable number, but I just don't think he'd be a good fit personally. But I have to say, mate, I'm far more open-minded now to a lot of things because, you know, if you asked me this 3 days ago, I'd have said, no chance. No chance he'd work off the ball. No chance he'd do what's needed. But now that we know we may have a new coach coming in with a fresh perspective and a fresh look, I don't think we can really rule out anything. You know, I want to try and be open-minded. I want to try and be open to new ideas because it's been a tough season with closed-off minds, and I was singularly focused on the idea that SALAH just wasn't cutting the mustard, so I just wanted to change. But now I feel a lot less pessimistic. I'm still nervy about the new season, but I don't know what the chat would say, but for me, it wouldn't be a natural fit for Rafa Leao. Alexander, thank you, bro, for gifting 10 memberships. Alexander Ivanov, thank you, bro. Dan Bennett said, not getting another experienced centre-back would be criminal, in my opinion. Can't rely on Gomez to stay fit. 2 new lads are going to take a while to settle after injuries. I'm right with you on that one, Dan. So myself and Connor were chatting about this earlier on. There's 2 parts of this that don't sit well with me. The first part is that Joe Gomez would then be leaving on a free in a year's time. So that would be yet another player that Liverpool would allow to go out the door for free. And on top of that, like you've rightly said, Dan, we've got 2 young centre-backs, one coming into a new league, coming back from a shoulder injury that kept him out from April. But fair enough, he'll get a full pre-season in, but he's still settling into a new league. So he's a bit of an uncertainty. Then we've got Giovanni Leone, who I think will take 6 months to get back into a rhythm and to learn to trust his body after an ACL and stuff. I might be wrong on this. If I am, I apologise. But I think I read somewhere that Giovanni Leone's mum is a physio. So I'm sure he'd have had every opportunity between the club, his mum and his rehab to get as best prepared as he can. But it really does feel like we need that bit more experience. I know Dave C. Kopp reckons that there could be a possibility to go and sign Nico Schlotterbeck with the release clause that's in his new Dortmund contract. I personally just don't know about that one, but it feels it feels foolhardy to me. I can understand the sensibility of keeping Gomez from one perspective because you've got somebody who can play right back and centre back, but we don't want another potential injury headache. So for me, I think it's pivotal that we bring in another centre back. But I can only report what's been said, mate, and I think I still have it here. 1 second, let me just find this story for you. Sorry. Where is it? So James Pearce said Joe Gomez is likely to remain at Liverpool for the final year of his contract. And I'm sure there was something else from James Pearce, maybe it was yesterday, that said Liverpool weren't prioritising or looking at the centre-back market. I just think it would be a mistake myself. So I'm with you on that one, Dan. Craig Sideway said, "Hey Craig, hope you're well. Thank you. Would you bring in Thiago as a coach? Not head coach. I think he would make a great addition. I continue to love what you're doing." Again, mate, I'm open-minded. Truly, I am. Like, whoever Andoni IRAOLA wants to bring in as part of his coaching staff, I'm open-minded to. Same with any new coach coming in. They'll have their trusted sidekicks, and I think his fitness guy is somebody that we really should hope he brings in with him because he's going to be key to getting the lads ready. And actually, sorry, while we're speaking about fitness guys, I just want to read you out the farewell from Ruben Peters, who of course was Arne Slot's conditioning guy. And he said this: "After 2 unforgettable seasons at Liverpool FC, it's time to say goodbye. Winning the Premier League together will always be a special memory and the ultimate highlight of this incredible journey. But above all, I'm grateful for the 2 years of going to work every day with such enthusiasm, surrounded by amazing colleagues and great people. Thank you to everyone at Liverpool for the trust, support and unforgettable moments." Again, very classy of Ruben Peters. Bradley said, "We can hope again now. I would buy an AA shirt/mug." Again, leave it with me. If it's something that you guys would want to do, always open to it. But I'm not here to try and give you the hard sell, and flog you shit. Apart from the stuff, obviously, we work with brands and sponsors. That's part of our remit. But I still think of us as a channel as, little old Anfield Agenda. So the idea that we have heading for 400,000 subscribers still blows my bleeding mind. So I know a lot of people think I only read negative comments, right? And sometimes I do get into that little mess. But I spotted a comment that really, really was beautiful. And I wanted to share a positive comment with you for once, because I know sometimes I come on and say, look at this shitty comment. So I wanted to show you a positive one. So let me read this out to you, and I'd love to know your feedback on it. So it's from Roy Heaney, 65. And he said, "Craig, I'm an ex-professional footballer with Liverpool and then Bolton Wanderers. Managed and played abroad. Also played Pro Rugby League for Wigan Warriors and Salford Reds. A very colourful sports history. Gained my FA UEFA coaching badges, and I'm currently involved in the UK litigation against the sports authorities, having been given a diagnosis of probable CTE and early onset dementia because of many acute and subconcussive hits. I just wanted to add, after years of watching and enjoying your channel, please don't ever doubt yourself again. You've built something extremely special, and you've only ever been extremely honest. My neurodiverse issue gave me a window into what you go through, but it just makes what you've achieved even more special. Keep the faith, my friend, and just keep on being you." I just wanted to share that one with you because I do notice the beautiful, kind comments as well, and they really do mean a lot. And thank you as well to Roy for that. I mean, it was a beautiful thing to read. Chasing Vlogs said, "Landed last night. We need to look for a new centre-back, right-back, left-back, winger, and possibly a new midfielder." Yeah, for me, mate, I'm kind of with you. I think we need probably 2 wingers. So yeah, I'm saying 2 wingers. I think we need a centre-back, but maybe the club think differently. We need another midfielder and a fullback. I really do hope we get a bit more information on exactly what the situation is with Connor Bradley. But, to this point, I'm just going to have to acknowledge Chris Williams' post on it and just wait and see. And I understand as well, Chris has to be very careful about what he writes, because not only is this potentially a legal thing, you've got somebody's medical history involved in it as well, and their medical records. So Chris has to be extremely careful, of course, about what he posts. Did you see the BS video that Sky Sports had verified that Jurgen Klopp was the new Liverpool manager? No? I haven't, Stephen, mate. I spent the last hour trying to find out where this came from. I read Sky Sports back pages, as I do every night, and they attributed this to The Athletic, and they said Arne Slot's departure from Liverpool could make Mohamed Salah rethink his future, despite having already announced that he's leaving Liverpool this summer. And then they credit The Athletic. Now, that was last night. And the only thing that I can really find that resembles that in any way is a piece from the 18th of May. And I think it was a Simon Hughes piece. And in that piece, it was written, not so long ago, some of Salah's associates in Egypt were quietly suggesting he'd not given up totally on the idea of remaining at Liverpool, despite recent announcements. Yet for that to happen, a regime change would be needed, starting with Slot, but also in conjunction with departures of the directors who have confidence in him, but are simply only a year away from their contracts being finished. So that's all I could find that anywhere near relates to a possibility of Salah changing his mind from The Athletic. And I read probably 5 or 6 different pieces from Oliver Kay, James Pearce, Simon Hughes, Greg Evans, and a few others, and I can't find anything other than that. So unless I've missed something huge, I even seen an article in The Express, and in that they highlighted and linked it back to that piece as well there from the 18th of May. So Grizzly, with IRAOLA coming in, what transfers will fit his style? Does Harvey return? If we win the Prem, will the broccoli be back? I mean, lots of questions there. Lots of questions. Transfers is a difficult one because I don't know what way Andoni Iraola may assess the Liverpool squad. So, and also, he probably isn't going to be making the decisions on transfers. It's most likely going to be Hughes and Edwards, and they've already been working on that. Now, of course, there's lots of stuff I'm going to run through here over the next hour or so that will give you a bit more information on that, but I don't know, mate, is the honest answer. Nor do I know if he'll revisit his old club and look at anybody. I hope Harvey Elliott gets given an opportunity, but I couldn't sit here and say with any level of certainty what's going to happen there. You know, usually in these cases, a new coach will come in and everybody gets a fresh start. Then he assesses, but maybe the club are just adamant that Elliott and Liverpool need to part ways. I don't know. I'd love him to get a chance, though. The Told You So was fun on TikTok. A couple of LFC content creators that hates Anfield Agenda. They walk alone, we have your back. I don't see any of it, mate. I don't have TikTok on my phone, so I've no, like, I make content on here. Connor clips it up and it does whatever with it. Look, I don't care if people hate me or not. It doesn't really make any difference to me because I don't know them. You know, obviously, if they're in my chat giving me abuse, I don't want to see it. But people are fully right to have an opinion. Like, I would all say this though: to the people that profess to hate me, just pop in and give us a go. Like, have a stream with us and see how you feel. Because I can see how you can see a clip of me and think I'm an asshole. I've never had any issue with that, but I know I'm a decent fella. So, you know, if they give us a try, I bet you they'd like the channel. If they don't, it isn't for them. No problem. It's all good. Like I've said, it's not about me. This is about our community. And that's what I want to make it about and continue to make it about. And imagine, like, on TikTok, I think we have over 200,000 subscribers or followers on there. And we don't actually really do much with it. Dylan said, what would your expectations be for Iraola if he's named coach next season? I'd be happy with top 4, but the following season I'd want some silverware. I mean, it's a really fair question, Dylan. I think I'm probably where you're at. So here's what I would expect to see. When a new manager comes in, you always have to be open-minded about some disjointed play for a little while until they figure it out. But the reason I was so categorical in my view that Arne wasn't going to fix it is I didn't see any signs as the season went on that he was figuring things out. And that's what you always want to see. So with Jurgen, there were always steps forward. It was pretty clear, or adaptations that he was making that was going to take some time. So my expectation is probably going to be somewhat like yours. Make sure we get Champions League football again. Hopefully have a good cup run. But I'm definitely not expecting a league title or anything in year one. And without knowing exactly what a transfer business is going to be, it's very difficult to say with any level of certainty on anything. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. And I'd be interested to know what you guys think in the chat. Like, what's your expectation if IRAOLA comes in? Because I seen a comment there a minute ago that said something like, what are the pros and cons of IRAOLA? And I hope to work through exactly that this evening. Luke said, I started watching Craig several years ago when I was around 17, went off to uni, didn't watch so much due to uni. To now come back and see the channel has almost 400,000 members. Well done. Yeah, thank you. I'm extremely lucky to have such a great community. Like I've said, really feel fortunate. I feel like a different man, lads, after Slot's departure, because it was heavy going for the last year. I feel like I have a new lease of life now and a new, bundle of energy to look forward to the new season. And I dare say I hope the content is going to be a lot more optimistic and a lot more upbeat now, because, it was heavy going for all of us over the last season. Tom said, evening, Craig. Hope you and the fam are good. Can't complain, my man. Can't complain. Yeah, young lads on his summer holidays now. All good here. Feeling a lot better today than I did yesterday. I'm at the very, very tail end of a bit of an illness, but it's more than manageable now. So just excited to be back on and looking forward to the new season. Right, let's get through some of the bits and pieces we have here for you this evening. So I want to do this chronologically, if that's okay, because so I want to start off with a post from LFC Lorry. I just found this quite funny, to be honest. So LFC Lorry posted, and it was in relation to David Ornstein and his post on the 11th of April that said, the intention of the club and Fenway Sports Group is to stick with Arne Slot into next season and give him longer. And then LFC Lorry posted this about Ornstein. Said we wouldn't sell Diaz, said Caicedo was done, said we didn't intend to bid again for Isak, said Edwards had no interest in returning, said FSG would sell, and said multiple times Slot would stay. Ornstein we might have an utter waffler here with Ornstein when it comes to Liverpool. I didn't realise that Ornstein had made that many little errors, to be honest with you. I knew the one or two of them, but Isa Judah said, Craig, you're looking well, lost a lot of weight. Thank you. I'm down. I still work in pounds, so excuse me on that one, but I'm down 20 pounds now. So whatever that is in kilos, I don't know. Maybe 8, something like that. But yeah, I feel a lot better. I have a long way to go, but we're getting there bit by bit. George said, hi, Craig. Hope you're good. Thank you for the birthday message. Really appreciated. What's your expectation for IRAOLA? Yesterday felt like a dream. As we were saying a minute ago, George, expectation is probably just to see progression as the season goes on. That's pretty much it. Like, I'm not expecting miracles from a new coach to come in. So I do expect some time for him to get his feet under the table, get used to the club, get used to playing twice a week. But one thing that I actually didn't really know about IRAOLA was that he was a fullback himself. I knew he played for Athletic Club Bilbao and he came from the Basque region, but I'm hoping that the fact that we need a right back and he played at right back, maybe we'll get a good insight there and maybe he'll have a very good idea of exactly what he does want with regards to a right back coming into the team. I think he would have loved to work with Conor Bradley, but that was interesting to see that. And that's what I've spent a lot of today doing, is watching, clips and master classes and a few bits like that to try and understand as much as I can about what what makes Andoni Iraola tick, what type of football he likes to play, and what his influences were. And of course, when he was at Athletic Club Bilbao, Marcelo Bielsa was his coach at that time. And I mean, that man is just a football font of knowledge. So I think we're getting somebody who I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic about Iraola. There's always risks with any new coach, and I'm not trying to sit here and say that there aren't risks. But I'm optimistic, man. And that feels good to say. It just feels good to be able to come out and be a bit more upbeat than we have been. Semzo, thank you, man, for the super sticker. Appreciate you. Carbon said, "Hi, Craig. How are you? I'm good. I'm good, mate. Please don't be mad at me, but would you take Rashford for the 35 million? His quality has improved over the 2 years and can see him being a good fit off the bench." No, because to the best of my understanding, he hates Liverpool. And obviously, as a United former player and Manchester fella, I wouldn't, mate, no. I just don't think with the wages and that he would command, it would make much sense. I think it's better to get a young, hungry player who's probably going to be on lower wages and let them grow into the role. But I agree with you about Rashford having been a bit better since he's gone to Barcelona. Now, I won't say I've watched them every single week, but I do keep an eye on the scores, the scorers and stuff like that. And his name was popping up quite a bit with a few goals and assists. I dare say he was probably a little bit surprised to see Barcelona going in as strong as they did for Anthony Gordon. But for me, it would be a no, because I just don't think it's in any way possible. Any chance Chiesa stays and we sign Palestra? So the Palestra thing is an interesting one. I haven't got a clue if Liverpool have an interest in Palestra. The only time I think I remember reading something about him recently was when we were linked with Denzel Dumfries. I think Inter Milan were looking at Palestra as their replacement at right back. But other than that, I really don't know. I'm not going to come on and pretend I have knowledge on something that I absolutely don't. So, good player, but after that, I haven't got a clue, mate. Johan said, "We are effing back, boys. You'll never walk alone." Thank you, bro. Right, so we asked, would it be a mistake not to sign another centre-back this summer? 84% of over 3,500 people that voted said yes, it would be. But it doesn't look like on the face of it we're going to. So for me this summer, what I don't want to feel as a Liverpool fan is go into next season and feel like our squad isn't deep enough. And depth, I think, there are a couple of key positions we need to sort in the 11. But I think depth is going to be really, really important. And we need to make sure that we do have that depth. And I'm intrigued to see, one, what type of level of expenditure we see this summer, because I'm not really sure what to expect there. And I know a lot of people are going to come in tonight and ask, is Andoni Iraola 100%? Nothing is 100% until it's done. But I would be absolutely amazed at this point if Iraola wasn't the direction of travel. So I'm taking it at face value that he probably is coming in. This from LFC Approved posted about Julian Ward a bit, and I want to just read this out to you because a lot of stuff has come out over the past 24 hours that shows why Liverpool moved to remove Arne Slot. And this piece here said, Julian Ward was reportedly one of the more vocal figures internally regarding Arne Slot's reluctance to utilise academy talent. It's understood that concerns were raised relatively early in the season, with Ward questioning whether Liverpool's increasing focus on recruiting elite young prospects aligned with a first-team environment where pathways appeared limited. Those concerns were allegedly communicated to Michael Edwards, with the argument being that investing heavily in young talent becomes increasingly difficult to justify if opportunities at senior level remain scarce. Julian Ward saved future Liverpool youth signings, according to this piece. Then we have Ben Jacobs, who said Kostas Tsimikas hopes to stay and fight for his place at Liverpool following the departure of Andy Robertson. Liverpool had tried to bring Kostas back from Roma in January, but the Italian side couldn't find a replacement. Now, that is something that I've been pretty consistent in saying to you guys. I'm not happy about. I don't like the idea of us bringing back Costas. It feels lazy, and it feels like we're talking about yet another player who we may wave goodbye to in a year's time. Look, if Gomez stays, he's going in a year. If Costa stays, he's going in a year. Virgil's going in a year. Alisson's at this point going in a year. It's really hard as a fan to hear that the club has to be sustainable and to see the club letting so many players walk out the door on free contracts. It just doesn't feel like joined up thinking. But there must be a reason for it. There must be some accounting reason, or I don't know. As I said, I'm not qualified to talk about it, but it does feel like an odd one. Oh, Wirtz has scored for Germany, the chat are saying. Nice. Delighted. Hopefully Wirtz has a good World Cup, fills himself full of confidence, and comes back in next season. So, Florian Plettenberg said, Liverpool and Andoni Iraola are now in advanced talks over the managerial position. A deal is expected soon. Santi_J_FM or Santi Ora said Al Ittihad is interested in Ibrahim Konate. So it took about 20 hours, by the way, for Liverpool players to start to post their own thank yous to Arne Slot. Because a lot of people were wondering why nothing had been forthcoming from the players, and like 20 hours, I think, it took before they started to post. James Pearce said Joe Gomez is likely to remain at Liverpool for the final year of his contract. So this piece here, I believe, I can't remember which outlet this comes from, so I apologise, I can't credit them, but it said, Liverpool will begin formal talks with Andoni Iraola this week and want to have Arne Slot's successor in position by the start of the World Cup. Iraola is without a club after leaving Bournemouth at the end of the season and is the front runner to replace Slot, who was sacked on Saturday after 2 years in charge. Liverpool are seeking a swift conclusion to their managerial search and are aware that Iraola has also been speaking to Crystal Palace, AC Milan and Bayer Leverkusen about the next step in his coaching career. The Anfield club will consider the merits of other candidates such as Stuttgart's Sebastian Hoeneß and Lens' Pierre Sage, but it would be a surprise if Iraola were not appointed. Then there's a couple of interesting things from Andy Hunter in The Guardian, which I'm going to get to in a minute, but I just want to get to some more of your super chats before I miss them. VI Jokers said, I hope with a new coach coming in that we can turn Anfield into a fortress again. Keep up the good work, Craig. You'll never walk alone. So do I. So do I, mate, because none of us wants to hear discontent inside Anfield. None of us wants to hear frustrated fans. We want to just get back to enjoying it and making Anfield a difficult place. Yeah, exactly. I hope for the very same. Raekwon said, I think Iraola will do well, but he's required to compete for a title, whether it's Champions League or the Premier League. This squad, no matter how disjointed, should win now. Yeah, look, again, we've said this all season. It isn't a poor squad, so I agree with you. There's been various reasons why sometimes or some aspects Slaw has been a bit unlucky in, but then other aspects, we have debated that ad nauseum, but I just I don't want to put an expectation on Andoni Iraola in year one. I just don't think it would be fair. But if we're sitting here at Christmas and we're talking about things going in the right direction, and obviously we're still within where we want to be in the league table, but I just want progression. That's it. I want to see that as each month goes past, the players are getting more and more used to the system. And I actually almost expect some disjointed performances at the start where maybe we're still figuring it out. And I would urge people to be a bit understanding in that regard. I know you're probably looking at this going, yeah, all right, dickhead, you want people to be understanding. Yeah, fair enough. But I mean that sincerely. Like, I look to try and find ways to be supportive of Arne, believe it or not, but I never seen the progression. And I'm hoping to see that with Iraola. So, my upbeat prediction would be that hopefully we can keep chipping away at the cups, whether it's be the Champions League, the FA Cup, the League Cup, and then be still in the mix after Christmas. If you're still in the mix after Christmas, heading into February, March, You never know. If it clicks, if we peak at the right time, if the fitness levels stay up, anything is possible. And I think we'll probably go in under the radar as well this year, where, teams probably won't know what to expect from us. And sometimes that can be a benefit as well for a coach in year one, even though they would have an idea of how IRAOLA played at Rayo Vallecano and, of course, at Bournemouth as well. You got the new kit, yeah, Craig. Now Slot's gone. Not the kit, because my son didn't actually want the shirt, but I did put an order in last night. Yeah, I ordered a couple of LFC, I think they're called Poly t-shirts or something, for myself. My wife got a hoodie. My son got a hoodie and 3 t-shirts. So yeah, we did put it in an order last night, like I said I was going to do when we finished, but I actually didn't get the jersey in the end. I think Connor might be treating himself to the jersey, but I'm hoping to lose a bit more weight, so I didn't really want to invest 100 quid into something that I don't know what size I'm going to be. Dice Cheese said, "Hey Craig, hope you're well. Do you think we'll go for a right back now, hoping all the Dumfries links go away now that SALAH is gone? Keep it up." I think we have to do, Jet. I think a right back, especially with the news late last night about Conor Bradley's injury maybe being worse than first anticipated. And then the second part of that was very interesting as well. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, let me just give you an insight on it, because it's a bit unfair for us to be talking about it without people maybe knowing what we're actually talking about on it. Where is it? Sorry, I'm going through all my notes here. Where was it? Yeah, so Chris Williams posted yesterday, said, exclusive information from within the Irish Football Association via Liverpool that Conor Bradley's injury is far worse than reported, with wider ramifications if proven. Whoever comes in to be the new Liverpool head coach, a right back is now a massive priority. And then after that, he posted, people asking what wider ramifications are. Those who know me will know that I'm a Liverpool fan before I ever worked in sports media. Suffice to say, news has to be carefully worded. The injury he sustained when he landed wasn't the injury he left the stadium with. Now, again, I don't know how much of that is conjecture and how much of it isn't. I really don't know, but I'm going to try and read you a few more posts from Chris Williams now. This about Virgil van Dijk. Chris writes, sources indicate Virgil van Dijk was forced to shoulder significant leadership responsibilities off the pitch, with SALAH leaning heavily on the club's senior player group. Liverpool insiders felt several academy prospects had become frustrated under SALAH. One source claims the handling of Tyler Morton played a part in the club accepting a significantly reduced fee, while Trey Neone was also considering his future. Now that worries me. It shouldn't worry us now, of course, but it kind of confirms what we all thought. Over the course of the last 2 years, many times you guys have said to me that SALAH doesn't lean on, or didn't lean on, young players. And this now feels like those assessments from everybody were correct. He went on to say, SALAH initially wanted Rio sent out on loan and didn't see him as part of his immediate first team plans. Concerns over SALAH's approach to young players were raised internally through the season and ultimately helped seal his fate. FSG began sounding out potential managerial replacements months before the final decision. Now, I told you that months ago. I'm not trying to take away from what Chris Williams is saying, but there were a lot of people who were trying to tell me again that I was full of shit when I told you that Liverpool were sounding out managerial candidates behind the scenes. And now Chris Williams again confirming FSG began sounding out managerial replacements months before the final decision. Initial contact was made with Cesc Fabregas in December, followed by first conversations with Andoni Iraola's team in February. Alonso was ruled out in March due to demands for greater control over footballing operations than Liverpool were prepared to grant. Internal planning for a managerial change is believed to have accelerated at ownership level during the March international break, with poor results against Manchester City and PSG strengthening the case for action. So, as you can see, yet again, a lot of the stuff that was doing the rounds that I talked about and others talked about is now coming out as being truthful. And I understand it, and I've always tried to say that. Of course, the club are going to not publicly acknowledge that they're talking with people. But I think a lot of people are very naive about how football club actually operates, because it would be remiss of them not to be sounding out other managers. It would be very foolish not to be doing that. Because if you have doubts, as Steven Gerrard said, I think on TNT, you're not going to just fire a manager without having any clue about what the next step is going to be. You only get to that point if you're fairly confident you've got a couple of options there. Because otherwise you're just landing yourself in huge problems. So I think, I think that makes that all tots up to the information I had anyway. Let me just read this one out. So, Fabrizio Romano and the possibility of Luis Enrique to Liverpool, he said, my understanding is that he will be staying at Paris Saint-Germain and will continue the project with a new contract. Now, again, I'd said that to you guys over the last few weeks as well, that my own information, and it's not private information, I mean, it's well out there, is that that's exactly what's going to happen. He's going to sign a new contract and stay there. And if you listen to Luis Enrique's words last night in his post-match press conference or his post-match interviews, he was still talking about the future and we have to do this in the market, and it all very much lined up to the idea that he was going to stay there. So, anyway, I've lots more to get through. I've lots more insight from journalists and a few takes that I want to get to, but I want to just catch up with some comments. I would be happy with Champions League next season, said the Hawk. I think that's more than acceptable. Champions League in year one, but with an identity being formed and progression as the season goes on. That sounds logical to me anyway. Stevie Boy said, this for me is a lazy appointment of a coach. Have they exhausted all avenues to get the best manager out there? I mean, it's a really fair point that you've raised, mate. And I don't know is the honest answer. Like I said this yesterday when I came on, and I'm kind of just playing devil's advocate with it, but I can understand how anybody could ask, is it a bit of a lazy appointment? Because, again, it's Richard Hughes turning into somebody he knows. But I would say Andoni Iraola's trajectory was one that he was going to move up the managerial ladder because he's just progressed every team he's been at. Now, the unknown is, can he replicate at the very top level? Because I was reading a very interesting piece that I think stemmed from an interview that Andoni Iraola did with Sky. I don't know at what point during his Bournemouth reign, but in the piece he talked about his own struggles when Bournemouth play a team and the team sit deep. So he was kind of talking about the same things. Like Jurgen Klopp struggled when we played deep because part of our identity with Jurgen, especially in the early days, was to win the ball back as high up the pitch as possible, cause those moments of chaos, and then, of course, have as little distance between yourself and the opposition goal as possible. But if teams sit back deep, it makes it a little bit more difficult for you to be going to win the ball back and stuff like that, because there isn't as much space for these third-man runs or movements. So, there are concerns, but there would be with anybody. If we were appointing Nagelsmann, there'd be concerns. If we were appointing, even if you're appointing Luis Enrique, there would be concerns because he hasn't coached in the Premier League either. I think he finished ninth with Celta Vigo at one point in his managerial career. So I don't know if it's lazy or not, but it certainly feels like an understandable appointment. I think we're all a bit on edge here, though, because Slot, depending on how you look at it, has either succeeded or failed, or a bit of both. And what we don't want as fans now is to get into this cycle of one manager failing, another one coming in, going in. We don't want to get into that cycle again. So I hope this one works out, Stevie Boy, and I'm certainly more than open-minded and looking forward to seeing what happens. If Trent came back, Mo may decide to stay. Thoughts? I just don't see a world where Trent comes back. Imagine you woke up tomorrow, Bradley, and you've seen an article that said Liverpool in talks with Real Madrid about a £60 million fee for Trent Alexander-Arnold. I don't know about you, dude, but that would piss me off massively because you've let a player go for next to nothing and then look to bring them back for a huge fee. I just feel like the Trent situation has happened, draw a line under it and move on. Um, but with regards to Salah, I really have no idea if there's any chance he changes his mind or not. But Sky have credited The Athletic with a piece to say that it might happen. The only thing I could find, as I mentioned at the start of the stream, was a piece from the 18th of May that talked about Salah may be staying or briefing people close to him that if this or this happened, he'd be open to it. Other than that, mate, I don't have a clue. I don't even know where Salah's next destination might be. James said, have to say, Canada is another Trent Alexander-Arnold, dragging it out. It certainly felt like, in my opinion, James, that Canada was negotiating in better faith than Trent, to me, from the outside. It looked like when Canada said that he didn't know whether the last game of the season was going to be his last game or not, I think he was telling the truth. Because if you look at what Romano and others who have information on that contract negotiation said, it wasn't a length of contract thing. It wasn't a base figure thing. It was a bonus structure thing. And they are complicated things, these contracts. And, you know, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because in one way, my mind says the club will have a number. And if the club can't do a deal at that number, they move on. And I think I'm okay with that. But of course, we have to acknowledge the elephant in the room as well of a 27-year-old experienced international centre-back is leaving. And we have a hole in the squad. And to hear that some journalists believe Liverpool might not be active in the centre-back market, that again worries me. So, yeah, I'm waiting to see. But if we go into next season with Leone, Xhaka, Van Dijk and Gomez, I don't think it'll end well. And not because they aren't good players. I just don't think it'll end well because we got lucky this year that Virgil was as bulletproof as he was and was able to play as many games as he did at his age as well. Xhaka is an unknown to the league and could, even with the best of intentions, could be brilliant, could be somebody that takes a year to settle. And with Gomez's injury record and Leone coming back from such an extensive injury, I feel it would be naive to think we can get away with that again. That's my take on it anyway. I want to see us bring in a centre-back. Will you miss saying spoofer so much? Happier days. No, there's nothing I will miss about this last year. Nothing. The last season. It's definitely the most mentally exhausting and negative season I can remember as a person. And I didn't like my own view at times. I hated being that negative because I want to be optimistic about our club. But I feel far more optimistic now. Van Bronckhorst number 2 was Slot's worst mistake. So there was something, let me see if I can find it here, 1 second. Here you go. So Chris Williams said, news that's been corroborated since Slot was sacked. There was genuine concerns around the level of training time off from FSG. Johnny Heidegger was the conduit between players and staff. Senior players were concerned with the intensity of training. So it always came across that Johnny Heidegger was the one that the players spoke to more than Slot and was the one that got on well with the players. So to me, it was a big warning sign when they wouldn't let him bring him back in. I said it to you guys at the time that the reports out there were that Heidegger wanted to come back, Slot wanted to bring him back, but Liverpool didn't allow him to do it. So that to me was, again, yet another indication that Liverpool were looking at going in a different direction. And I even said to you guys last week when everybody, and again, you can go back and check this out. When everybody was saying that Etienne Reynan was a guarantee to come in to be the new coach, I said to you, that's not true. I mean, I did. I said that's not true. And the reason I knew it wasn't true, I can't tell you because it will hang. Well, actually, it doesn't really matter at this point. How do I say this without landing myself in trouble? It came via his agent. There you go. It came via the coach's own agent. I didn't speak to them directly, by the way. It wasn't me that had the conversation. But there you go. So that's why I was so confident on that one. Because the agent of the coach himself said that not only were they talking with Liverpool, but they were talking with clubs in the Premier League and outside the Premier League about doing opposition analysis work. So, yeah, there you go. I guess I can sort of say that now because he's not going to be coming into the club anyway and is not going to have anything to do with Liverpool. So, what do I give a fuck if he's annoyed at me? Samzo said, "Hey Craig, hope you're well. Which player do you think could realistically replace Mo Salah and have a similar impact for Liverpool?" Nobody. I don't think there's anybody in world football that could do his numbers again. So, look, you could look at players like Kvaratskhelia, who operates off the left more so. You could look at players like Michael Elise, but they're not realistic for us. So, for me, I think if you go down the route of Ian Diamonde, I understand that entirely. But I do think that would need to be counteracted with a bit more seniority. Now, I read a piece today that suggested that Chelsea could be in the mix for Jared Bowen. So I don't know what to make of that. I've not really seen too much linking Liverpool to Jared Bowen, but it's a deal that I'd love Liverpool to do as a fan. Players were told to post about Slot to save face. I'd be a liar if I didn't think similarly. If I told you I didn't think similarly, mate. Especially because I think Verge, if I'm not mistaken, was the first one out, and then they went after that. But yeah, what are IRAOLA teams like defensively? I'm still getting to grips with that, mate. It's only been 24 hours, and I'm only really looking into IRAOLA and what makes IRAOLA at the minute. So, truth is, I can't give you a balanced assessment on that yet. And even if I did, coming into Liverpool, it'd be different again because it'd be working with different personnel. You would imagine, though, that if you're Milos Kerkez, you're quite happy about this because you know that it's a coach that believes in you and got you playing really good football. There was one thing that he talked about on Donny Ariola when he was talking about, I think it was, I don't know if it was Vicente Del Bosque or if it was the coach that won the 2 Euros and the World Cup with Spain. But he was talking about the differences and how he had to play the fullback role. And I thought it was quite intriguing as well, looking at that. Tom said, "Evening, Craig. In my opinion, the main thing Iriola needs to achieve, make Anfield a tough place to visit. Defeat has become normalised, needs and has to change." Agree, mate. Absolutely. We've got to make it a horrible place again for teams to come and play. And I think you will see a huge difference in the atmosphere inside Anfield this season as well. Because there was a lot of disillusioned Reds in there, and now you're going to see people giving the manager a clean slate. And if Iriola can get Liverpool fans on board on this journey with him, it could be incredible because I think they're going to really like his style of football. I think we're going to enjoy the aggression in it. But I'm just excited. Just excited, really, I am. I'm excited because, yes, there is a bit of anxiety around it, like with any new coach, but it feels like just a fresh start for everybody. And maybe that's what's needed. Maybe it's needed in the changing room. Maybe it's needed on the training ground. But it just feels like it's needed. Samia said Liverpool will sign 2 to 5 players max this summer. A centre backs that can play right back if Joe leaves. 1-2 central midfielders. 1 if Curtis or Maka leave. 2 if both, and 1-2 wingers. 1 left wing that can play centre forward if Harvey and Fede go. That won't be enough though, mate. It won't. That will leave us up shit creek again, because it's just not enough numerically. I think we need to sell Costas and get 2 fullbacks. I'd still sell Chiesa, to be honest with you. I would at this point if you could get the money for him, but I'm also open for him to stay if IRAOLA wants him to stay. The wide players that to me were the real success or failure of this window is going to be. Because if we can add lightning pace into this team, it'll make a huge difference. It really will. If we can have teams fearing us, again, not only as a counter-attacking team, but as a team that can transition quickly, I feel like that will add a lot more strength to our team. But in IRAOLA's system as well, depending on how he wants to play, whoever's playing centre-back, I think they're going to have a fair amount of pace to cover the full-back positions if one or both of the full-backs play as advanced as we think. But again, a lot of hypotheticals here because we haven't even got the confirmed appointment of the next manager yet. Craig, do you realistically think that we'll do that in one window? Fair point, but I can only tell you what I think we need. It's not up to you or me to sort it out. You know, that's on Hughes Edwards and the recruitment team. But no is probably the answer. No is probably the answer. Because then you have the balance of, if you do it all in one window, which again would be a lot of work, how scattergun is that going to be? How much impact is that going to have? Like, it feels like now I'm happy to talk about transition and rebuild because we have a whole new start. It just felt weird talking about it in year 3 of a new reign with SALAH. Like, it felt odd talking about rebuilds. Because what really annoyed me about that whole situation was that they did nothing in the first year. I never understood that. And I'll never understand why they didn't go after Mark A as well in January. Like, there are things that just stand out to me as flawed. Itachi said, for the first time since August, I'm feeling a little bit upbeat. Now bring in some good signings and I'm ready for the next season with IRAOLA. So, how do we feel about IRAOLA? Like, does anybody think that there's any chance it might not be IRAOLA? And look, it certainly looks like it's trending in that direction, but, you know, as that piece I read out a few minutes ago said, other options will be assessed, whether it's Sebastian Hoeneß or whether it's the guy Sage from Lawns. You know, it certainly feels like if I had £100 to put down here, I wouldn't be putting it down anywhere other than IRAOLA, and I think a lot of the betting companies have suspended the odds there. Oliver said optimistic. Lucy said, I'd love to know how all of her players are feeling right now. Yeah, so would I, Lucy. I think it's a good shout, mate. Crazy Red said, Krupi was the best young player in the league last season, in my opinion. So the reason I haven't really talked about Eli Krupi much is I'm worried that Arsenal are going to go strongly there because Arsenal are going to look for another attacking player, and there's some chatter that they're going to try to challenge for Alvarez, but Krupi is another name that's been strongly linked there. And with Liverpool having spent 200 million quid on 2 centre forwards and having Will Wright coming through and Jayden Dan still at the club, I don't know if Liverpool would be of a mind to spend that much money again on another young attacker, but I am just guessing on it. Craig, would you take Yildiz at Liverpool? Yes, I would. I think Keenan Yildiz is a very good footballer. Alex said, Craig, I think we must get Schlotterbeck. We need him to start because it'll take time for Leone and Jacquet to adapt. Did you see we told Verts? Did you see he told Verts he wants to join Liverpool? He has a good release clause. So yeah, there was a piece today from, I think it was Davis C. Kopp, that said that Liverpool are looking at it. Now, I hope he's right, because I'd love us to go get Schlotterbeck. I see Schlotterbeck as the potential long-term Van Dijk successor as the leader of the defence. And I think the need for leadership now has increased even more, that a 27-year-old experienced Canade is left. And we've got one 19-year-old, one 21-year-old centre-back, Gomez, who hasn't played, as much as he would have liked and has 1 year to go. And then Van Dijk, who's, after coming off a season where he played pretty much every minute. So, yeah, we need somebody else in the mid-range for me. Somebody in that 25, 27 age bracket. And I'd love if it was Nico Schlotterbeck. I really, really, really would. Instead of Barcola, I would absolutely go for Guts. So, excuse my ignorance here. Is he the kid from Ajax, or is that somebody else completely different? I mean, sorry if I'm so far off on that one, but I'd be the first one to say to you, I spend a lot of time and I just focus on, Liverpool players and stuff like that. When I'm looking at players that I know are linked with the club, I start to look at them. Tom said, in my opinion, the main thing IRAOLA needs to achieve, make Anfield a top place. No, I've read that one out, Tom. You said you think I missed your super chat. I read that one out, my man. I absolutely read that one out. I was just double checking I had for you. Yeah, no, I did read it out because I agreed with you, Tom. And I said, yes, we need to get back to it being a fortress, 100%. Is there any sales that you're expecting? Actually, let me ask this. So, will Curtis Jones now reconsider his leaving Liverpool? I honestly haven't got a clue. I'm asking it as a genuine question. I feel like whatever happens with Curtis Jones, it will be this summer. So whether he goes, whether he renews, I don't see a world where Liverpool let him leave for nothing in a year's time. So I do think whatever happens there, it's going to be sorted out this summer. Now, how it works out, I don't know. There seems to be a bit of a gap in valuation between what Inter Milan are willing to pay and what Liverpool are looking to pay, or looking to get, excuse me. Do you think they're waiting to see what Luis Enrique decides, if there's any chance he wants a new challenge? Well, there was a few bits on that, and I'll try to find it in my notes here for you now. Bear with me. Where is it? Sorry, am I in the right one here? Yeah. I haven't got it to hand, but there was a piece that said Liverpool's, I don't know the exact wording that they used, Liverpool's back channeling or something like that led them to believe that Enrique is set to stay at PSG. It was some variation of that worded differently, but basically Liverpool expect Luis Enrique to stay at PSG. What are your 5 dream signings? Obviously now we need a centre back and a right back, but cannot think of who we need. Hope the family and yourself are well. So Nico Schlotterbeck, I'd love. I'd be fully on board with that. Neco Williams, I wouldn't say no to bring him back in either. But it's hard to really answer the right back or full back position without knowing the real extent of the Conor Bradley situation. And I don't. I really don't know. So that one I find it hard to give a qualified answer on. In central midfield, Wharton always seemed like a very Liverpool type signing. But again, departures could play a key part in that. You've got Kamara, Sangar, maybe a couple of others who the club are looking at. But again, we're going to have to get cracking soon. So I don't think we'll have to be wondering too much longer what way the club are going, because it looks like they're trying to move quickly. And, you know, you're going to want to make sure you have as many of those players in for pre-season for the new head coach. The wide player, sorry, I'll continue on. Wide player, I think Diamonde is obviously the number one target at this point. Barcola is somebody that Liverpool have also had tabs on for, or kept tabs on for a long time. The goalkeeping department's an interesting one. Like, I haven't seen too much since the announcement of Slot's departure about what may happen with Mamadashvili. Because I think, who was it we said the other day? Was it Sasha Tavolieri, or maybe it was somebody else that said that 3 Serie A clubs have been offered the opportunity to take him on loan for the season. That, again, would just be weird to me if we're willing to do that. Do you think Gakpo will get better, or do we sell? I think he'll get one more season with Liverpool, and then we'll see. For a couple of reasons. Rio's still developing, so how much game time or how many 90 minutes Rio can fulfill in year one under IRAOLA, let's say, let's wait and see. But then if he does blossom and maybe there's a few other options coming available, let's say, you know, we get Ekatike back fit, Isak's firing, maybe you can push one of them out to the left. There's a lot dependent on a few moving pieces. So, look, all I can say is if Bayern Munich knocked on the door and put £65 million down on the table, or £60 million, I wouldn't shed a tear if Liverpool sold Gakpo. But I would be extremely angry if they sold him without having another alternative or another option ready and available to them. I would put Gakpo in the same bracket that I would put Kanade in. No problem being at the club, no problem with them staying, nothing against them whatsoever, but wouldn't really lose a minute's sleep if they moved on either way. I don't think I would ever class Cody as a defining player for Liverpool, but a more than adequate player to have in the squad who chips in with a fair amount. If he had love for Liverpool, he wouldn't leave for bonuses. That's just, I mean, it's not necessarily true though, Jaden. So I find it very difficult, mate, to ever really knock a player on the financials, because I don't know Kanade's backstory, his life story. I don't know how many people maybe he supports with his wages. I don't know what motivates him, whether it's trophies, money. Every footballer comes into the sport differently. Like, some footballers come from a level of poverty and deprivation that thankfully many of us will never have to experience, or hardships that many of us will never have to experience. And others are driven by wanting to win trophies and constant improvement. And then you've got other players who look at it as a job and don't really particularly love the sport. I think Ben White might be one of them. I remember Harry Kewell, I think, was one of them as well. So I never judge anybody about what motivates them. I just like transparency about that motivation. So what I really appreciated was, do you remember when Koulibaly went to Saudi? He was one of the few players that just openly said, yes, there's lots of money. The money is a huge factor. The money will change a lot of things for a lot of people in my village, community, family. And how could I judge that as a human being, you know? It would be unfair of me to do so. Just a thought, could you see Gakpo being moved on? So it depends on a few things. One, the new coach's thoughts on the player. And two, the availability of options and offers that may come in. And obviously then if Liverpool could find a replacement. It doesn't feel like something that we should be looking to do off the bat when there's more recruitment that already needs to be done. So I don't think we should be giving ourselves more headaches this soon, because we've already got quite a bit to do in the market. Will said, "Evening, Craig. For me, IRAOLA wouldn't be my choice, but I want to be proved wrong. Gives me hope that we haven't got to watch lots of football and for us to be exciting to watch again." So I've been thinking about that myself, Will, asking, is he my first choice? I'm probably 55% Sebastian Hoeneß, 45% Andoni Iraola. If I was to give you percentages of what way I'd look at it with regards to who my ideal one of those two would be. I don't know very much at all about the Lens manager, so it wouldn't be fair of me to speak. But I always said to you guys, I'm open-minded. When Slot's fired, I'm open-minded about who they go with next. And I can at least understand why they would look to Iraola and why they think he could be a good fit. Stylistically, for the fans inside the stadium, for the coaching and improving of players, for maybe looking to bring more academy products through. Because I do agree with that Julian Ward sentiment. Like, if you're out there in Europe or in the world trying to attract the best talent to come into Liverpool's underage systems, the way Dortmund and all have been able to do that was by showing pathways through to the first team. And Slot wasn't really shown that pathway, which makes the job of Julian Ward, Pedro Marquez, and other players on the development side incredibly difficult. Like, look at how we got Rio from Chelsea. It was because he believed the pathway through to Liverpool's first team was far more likely. So it is a balancing act. If you want the best young players, you have to also give them the pathway into the first team. And I didn't really know about Nioni being potentially unhappy until I read that bit earlier on, that he was considering his future. And I'm very relieved now that a new coach is coming in, and at least, you know, there'll be a fresh start there, because I really, really rate Trey Nioni as a footballer. I think he has every attribute to be a top player. And it's a real balancing act at a top club. Like, it's easier to bring through younger players at the likes of a Bournemouth or somewhere, because the expectation levels aren't the same. If you're a coach that is expected to win stuff and breathe through younger players, it's very difficult. Klopp did it extremely well, and we were able to utilise the League Cup very well in that regard. But it is a challenge that I always have some sympathies for. But the fact that it seemed, at least, that Slot was not really interested in that side of it. And that kind of leans back into Ben's piece as well for Anfield Watch that we spoke about a few months back, where there was the showcase put on and Slot couldn't show up, like, didn't bother showing up for it. And then there's also the stories again about Liverpool wanting Rio to get that pathway and Slot wanting to send them out on loan and go out to buy a ready-made player. None of that feels right to me. Like, Slot should be wanting to progress through these young talents as well, of course, as improving the players that are there. And if we didn't want to do that, it's just not a good fit. Jaden said, watch PSG, Bayern and Madrid pounce on Canada now. Maybe, but I'm not arsed, Jaden. And I don't mean that at you, bro. You know I love you to bits, but I'm not arsed if Canada, where he goes. I'm more concerned about whether Liverpool bring in a replacement or not. Like, as I said a while ago, Canade to me was a player that I'm happy to have in the team, but I'm not going to lose him in a sleep with him out of the team, because there were attributes of his that I thought were quite good. I thought he covered the right back position really well at times, but he's probably the worst header of a football I've ever seen for a centre back. And I don't mean that he doesn't win aerial duels. I just mean his technique and the direction of his headed clearances were absolutely fucking shambolic. And the lazy pushing and leaning into players, I didn't like either. And last season, I felt like him and Virgil both got to the point where we're walking a tightrope about leaning into players who were about to shoot and pushing them, I felt like it was just a penalty and a red card waiting to happen. So, yeah, if he goes, wherever he goes, he goes. You know, Liverpool will have made their decision based on what they deem to be value in the contract or not. And yeah, we'll have to just go from there. Would you bring Harvey Elliott back and Kwanzaa? Said Matthew. I'd love to see Harvey Elliott given another chance, mate, yes. And Jarell Kwanzaa, not this summer, no. Because I don't know if the release clause or the buyback option Liverpool had is over for this season. But I know that there's something like a £13 million difference. I think it's about 50 million quid next summer if Liverpool want to bring Kwanzaa back. And I think the report said something like 63 million quid if they want to do it this summer. And I don't think spending 63 million quid on Jarell Kwanzaa would be money well spent. Give him another season in the Bundesliga. And then you've got a bigger sample size again to look at. What about Alex Scott? Easy transfer, surely. Definitely should be looked at, Padge. Definitely would fit Liverpool's mould of transfers as well. And somebody that Andoni Iraola, of course, would know very, very well. So, you know, we'll see if Alex Scott's name comes up more and more over the coming days and weeks. It's certainly a sensible suggestion, dude. Anthony said, I'd rather have Antonio Nusa than Barcola. You're not the first one to say that to me. You know, lots of people have been suggesting Nusa, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he plays the opposite flank usually to Diamonde. I mean, I remember watching one game for Leipzig, and Diamonde played both left and right in the game, switched in each half. And Nusa has been somebody who, again, I don't know of interest from Liverpool. I'm not saying there isn't, but I can understand the suggestion because he seems like a player who is going to get a big move at some point. And if not mistaken, isn't he Norwegian and going to the World Cup? I think he's from Norway, if my memory is right. So he'd be in the World Cup, obviously, this summer as well. Chiesa presses and works hard. Perfect for Iraola. I just don't know about the Chiesa situation. I'm open-minded to either way. I don't know if his best days are behind him and that's just the way it is. Or I don't know if he was in a situation where it didn't really matter what he did in the training ground. Slot had made his mind up and, you know, he wasn't going to get much game time. It's hard to know that from the outside. But like I said earlier on, usually a lot of people will get a clean slate in this situation, and the manager would at least, or the new head coach would at least have a look at them in pre-season. And look, I'm sure Chiesa is definitely one of those who probably feel a bit relieved that Arne has moved on from his own playing perspective. But I don't know, lads. I wouldn't be pinning my hopes on Chiesa to be the Chiesa that maybe we thought he could have been 4 years ago or something. I just don't think it's there. Raja, how are you, dude? Said, hey Craig, what would be your expectation from Iraola next season if he becomes Liverpool manager? I think getting top four should be the goal. I agree, Raja. I mentioned at the start of the stream as well. Here's what I'm expecting. If a new coach comes in, and of course a new coach is coming in now, be expecting some mixed results at the start of the season. But as long as we see progression as the months go by, and it looks as if it's been figured out and the players are getting to grips with the system, I'm cool with that. You know, same when Kloppo came in. Didn't expect Klopp to come in and win the league in the first year, but I did expect to see progression, and we did almost season on season. You know, sometimes injuries and a few other things mess things up, but that seems very sensible, Rajat, what you've said. You know, get into the Champions League again and maybe hope for a good cup run as the season goes on. And if you peak at the right time, who knows? Like, Manchester City's business in January are a great example of what a mid-season correction can do. Now, a mid-season correction doesn't always have to come from a transfer market. It could just be from, in our case, a new coach and his ideas finally starting to bed in. And like I said again earlier on, that's why I'm so adamant that Slot was never going to sort it out, because he had tried everything, every avenue, every option, every setup, and nothing was working. And it felt like either his words weren't being communicated to the players enough, or they just didn't want to listen to those words. And everything to me just screamed, we need to change. And it's never a good day for the football club when you have to fire a manager. And I don't expect, even if IRAOLA does poor, to be sitting here calling for his head, because it's not something I do lightly. And I know, again, I've a reputation as being a hothead in that, but I really am understanding when it comes to Liverpool coaches. And I'm very supportive of them. But I knew it wasn't it with Slot. Right, a couple of things, ladies and gents. We are now final few hours of our May giveaway. If you haven't entered yet, we are giving away your choice of a signed and framed Robbie Fowler shirt from any of the three that you can see there on the screen. To enter, all you have to do is scan the QR code. That will bring you into our WhatsApp, where you will see the link in there on how you can enter the competition. And we'll be doing a giveaway every month in 2026 with thanks to our friends at the Collector's Corner. And of course, you can get yourself 20% off anything at thecollectorscorner.co.uk with our code Anfield Agenda 1. Scape Penguin, said, love Canada, good person, not worth VVD money. I think that pretty much sums up where my head's at as well. Always seemed like a good lad to have around the club. Always positive, but not worth that type of money. I'm agreeing with you on that, mate. Barcola is Nunez with flair, misses easy chances. There was a really good example of exactly why many of us aren't convinced on Barcola in the Champions League final. The touch that took him away from goal was stupid. In that position that he got into, you want to be going across the front of the defender and giving them a decision to make. Either one, get your body in front of them, meaning any connection you're going down, it's a penalty, or they have to make an absolute worldy challenge. And his touch that took him wide took the chance away. And PSG should have won it with that chance. For me, if you put, who am I saying? Kvaratskhelia in that position, it's a goal. If you put Salah in his pump in that position, it's a goal. But exactly that, it just made me feel, well, that's why I would have doubts about him as well. It's just a shitty touch. So yeah, I understand and agree with you. I think but then again, you have to say as well, to be fair in the conversation, if you could put it right with him, if you could make that last little bit click and you could improve his proficiency by 15%, you're still going to get a shit ton of goals out of him. But the one that really stands out to me is Doué. Like, for that kid to be as composed as he is at the age he is phenomenal. Like, he really... I remember when he came on against us last year, I just thought, who's this lad? And then I just thought, oh shit, he's good, and he's coming off their bench. Yeah, he's brilliant. Obviously, we all know about Kvaratskhelia, but Doué to me is such an incredibly talented young player with such composure. Like, his penalty and the way he took that as well was just phenomenal. What happens with Chiesa now? Said Emmy Blumenthal. I don't know. I really don't know. Like, as many people have said tonight, maybe he gets another chance. Depends. We still don't even know for certain that it's going to be IRAOLA. I mean, I'll be amazed if it isn't, but I think a lot of these questions will be answered when we see his press conference. So, like, when the Donny IRAOLA sitting there, I expect him to say, fresh start, everybody gets a chance, let's see what we can do. And the only way I think maybe that doesn't happen is if Edwards and Hughes say, look, this guy and this guy and this guy, we plan to move on. We've been working on a deal maybe here or here, but if you want to keep, well, maybe this changes. It's all conjecture at the minute, and it would be unfair to say anything definitively. Craig, has it been confirmed Iraola's our next manager? No, it hasn't. Now, everybody believes it's going that way, and Romano said he's Liverpool's number 1, 2 and 3 choice. And he's probably right. But no, it hasn't been confirmed yet. And on that, let's take you through some more stuff around that situation, because still lots more that I haven't gone through yet tonight. So, Florian Plettenberg has said Liverpool and Andoni Iraola are now in advanced talks over the managerial position. Also, where's this one? Yeah, I said I was going to read out some stuff from Andy Hunter of The Guardian. So Andy said, Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards are understood to have started their review before the end of the season. Now, again, I told you that the decision had been made and that they'd already conducted the review or were conducting the review. And everybody told me, Craig, Romano's right. Romano said there will be a review at the end of the season, blah, blah, blah. And I told you, we talked to other managers. I told you that they'd already made the decision. And I'm right. What he said, and I'm telling you this from somebody who understands the wording of things, what Romano said was giving him a get out of jail card. Because it wasn't in any way definitive. It was, there'll be an end of season review. I'm sure he said about a week ago that the plan is to go ahead with SALAH, but there would be a review. And I told you that's not the information that I heard. Anyway, let me continue on with what Andy Hunter said. He said, Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards are understood to have started their review before the end of the season. SALAH was assessed along with the data behind the team's performances. Players were not consulted, and although supporter unrest was taken into account, it is not believed to have played a decisive role in their final conclusion that the team were unlikely to improve under SALAH. FSG then signed off on Hughes and Edwards' recommendation. There's also, I don't know if I can bring this graph up yet. Let me try to bring this up on screen for you. Right. So let me just adjust this a little bit. So this comes from the Times newspaper. And it shows SALAH's downward points per game figure as Liverpool manager. And it's, you don't even need me to explain this, do you? So you start off, obviously, the maximum you can get per game is 3 points. And then over the course of his time at Liverpool, last season and this season, you can see the changes and the direction that our form and our points per game were going. And yeah, it's not great, is it? You don't need to be a mathematician or a stat analyst to look at that and go, oh, it's pretty fucking clear that we were trending in the wrong direction. So, a lot of this stuff, as I said to you, you can't get away from it. And I told you, there's no data that's going to be showing that he's the right guy. And there's no data that's going to be showing that it's going in the right direction, because it wasn't. So, Paul Joyce has said Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes will oversee the appointment of SALAH's replacement, and everything points towards Andoni Iraola. Edwards observed the Basque coach at work during his time at Rayo Vallecano, and Richard Hughes then appointed him at Bournemouth. Whether the new man in charge takes the title of head coach or manager remains to be seen. And that's what I was speaking about with tonight's title of the stream. Is he going to have a more influential role? Because it feels like it's going to be a head coach, but as Paul Joyce says here in that last line, whether the new man in charge takes the title of head coach or manager remains to be seen. Also from Paul Joyce, Mike Gordon, FSG's president, gave the final sign-off on removing Arne. Looking forward to next season and beyond, it was decided that the 47-year-old was simply no longer the best person to lead the club. The standing of both Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards does not appear to be diminished. He also said, whether Andoni Iraola takes the title of head coach or not remains to be seen. Chris Williams said, Hogan, Edwards and Gordon all stepped in. The decision was made at the highest levels, Slot was informed late Saturday morning that his time at Liverpool was up. Edwards and his data team had concerns as early as October. Others wanted to give him more time, but eventually fell in line. So what we all seen from October, November, where the form was abysmal and the results were shite, that's when they started getting alarm bells as well. So, again, this is just backing up what a lot of fans thought and felt themselves. Like, you've probably heard a lot of people saying, I'd have fired him by Christmas, me being one of them. And the club had their own concerns all the way back from October. Sorry, let me just close that down. Dr. SALAH said, hey Craig, so glad you're back. Thank you. Ignore the talkers and keep going, buddy. You'll never walk alone. One concern I have is our fitness levels seem down. Do you think IRAOLA would make improving that a major priority? Yes. And I don't know the dude's name, so forgive me. But there is, maybe somebody in the chat can help me out here. There is a fitness coach that he works with that apparently is an animal on the training ground and runs players and works them really, really, really hard. I don't know his name off the top of my head, but is it Pablo de la Torre? Is that the guy? Yeah, so apparently there is somebody who he looks like he's going to bring across with him. And that's not unusual. You know, we've already seen Ruben Peters confirmed today with a very classy post that he's departing Liverpool as well, and he would have been the strength and conditioning guy. So yeah, as Keane and others, as ARQVT said in the chat there, Pablo de la Torre or whatever his name is, yeah, it looks like he could come in with him. Now, what will be interesting to see though is, you know, assistant managers and stuff like that. So we'll wait and see. Right, where are we on the poll? So we asked, will Jones now reconsider leaving Liverpool? We'll let it go a little bit longer. And if there's any other poll question that you guys would like me to throw up tonight, please do let me know and I'll do my best to get to it. We've got about 35 minutes left on tonight's stream. So anything you have or any poll you'd like to see, please do let me know. Skater Hardy said, is it worth noting, out of the big teams, only Arsenal will have no change manager-wise? United have Carrick, City have Maresca, we have IRAOLA, Chelsea have Alonso, so let's wait and see. Good point. Yeah, good point, mate. It will be interesting to see, all right. Yeah. I'm intrigued. I still think United made the wrong choice for what it's worth. You know, I wouldn't sit here and tell you that Carrick didn't do a brilliant job, but I think that's going to end up failing. I've no idea what to expect at Man City. I really haven't got a clue. Nor do I know what to expect with regards to possible sanctions or anything. I think Alonso will do all right at Chelsea. You know, I do. I think he'll do okay there. I guess the real question is, do we think Arsenal are going to go on and have an era now? Because did you see the message that's been doing the rounds that apparently Sir Alex Ferguson sent to Nasser Al-Khelaifi? Have you guys seen that? I don't know if it's true or if it's fake, so I don't really want to bring it up on screen or anything, but there was a message that said something along the lines of, you play the most boring team who doesn't attack, or something along those lines. Salah staying. Nobody knows, mate. Nobody knows. I can't even find where Sky Sports got the headline that was in the... And it's still up there. You can look yourself on their back pages or newspaper headlines. They had a piece and they talked about... It said exactly this. Arne Slot's departure from Liverpool could make Mohamed Salah rethink his future, despite having already announced he's leaving Liverpool this summer. And they credit The Athletic. Now, the only thing I can find that even sort of relates to that goes all the way back to a piece on May the 18th. But I don't know where they're getting the new article from, because I can't find it in The Athletic, and I've spent an hour today reading through it. So yeah, here's the piece here. It said, according to L'Equipe, Sir Alex Ferguson texted PSG President Nasser Al-Khelaifi, "Nasser, this is Alex Ferguson, well done. It was a tough night for you, but you played against the boring team that did nothing but defend. Enjoy your holidays, you deserve it." Ouch. Stephen said, "I'm so happy to see you looking so upbeat since Saturday. I watch every day and I love the community. Keep up the wonderful work. You'll never walk alone, from Columbus, Ohio." So I found it funny today. We were kind of in a thread in the Times on one of the comment sections where people were pointing us out as a channel that overreacts to things. And I just felt like jumping into the comments and going, fuck you. Like, they think I do this stuff and I react the way I do for views. My wife will tell you, and anyone that knows me will tell you, I'm a lunatic when I watch football. And what I do on here is probably a watered down version of what I'd be like with no camera. So nothing I do here is for views. I just happen to be somebody that, rightly or wrongly, is incredibly emotional about football. And it provokes something in me that makes me emotional. And I'm never going to apologize for that, but it's so tiring going, yeah, I want it more measured and cool. Fool, that's you, crack on. But you don't get to say you know everything about me just because you don't like the way I talk about things. I'd love to see half of these fuckers have a GoPro on them watching a game and see how they actually get on, because I'm never going to apologize for being emotional about football. That's why I love it so much. You know, football does provoke huge emotion in me, but it ain't for views. It's because this football club, as I've said to you guys many times, has been a big part of my life. Petter said, "Craig, just joined. Your thoughts on Canade leaving? I'm actually very disappointed. A little bit surprised, if I'm honest with you. I did think, Peter, that things were trending towards him staying, so I did think that was going to be the outcome. But ultimately, I'm okay with it if the club think that there wasn't a number they could get to that they were happy with. But what I hope doesn't happen is that we don't replace him, because I do think that would be really, really naive. And I think we'd be setting ourselves up for another potentially awkward season where we're shoehorning players out of position. So if they made the decision that they didn't want to get to a number for Canade, no problem. But you've got to replace him. This here from Transfer Sector and L'Equipe. Paris Saint-Germain have positioned themselves to sign Eli Junior Krupi, and are also in negotiations for Magnus Akliush and Yan Diamonde. And that's always been the fear, hasn't it? That PSG move strongly for Diamonde, and that maybe, I think it was Bence wrote a piece that said that his father lives in Paris and maybe that might work for him, you know, because his family would be close. Now, there was another piece that suggested that maybe he sees the pathway into the Liverpool team as being one where he'd get more game time. And I think that's fair. Because if you're him now and you're looking at PSG, well, you've got Doué and Kvaratskhelia, and they're probably the starters either side. Whereas if you're Liverpool, you could say to Diamonde, you're going to come in and play here, fella. You're going to come in and play for a coach that is going to play exciting front foot football, and Liverpool fans are going to love you. So, yeah, let's wait and see. But this is what, when you get to the stage PSG are at, you've won 2 Champions Leagues back to back. You know, you've won league titles with France over and over again. You're going to be an attractive proposition, and you've got a coach that I'm sure players would love to play for. So my fear has always been that we end up getting Bradley Barcola because PSG get Diamonde. That's always been a nagging fear in the back of my mind. Cheers all the way from NL Canada. Thank you. Well, I can't wait. I'm going to Canada in late September, early October, and I am absolutely buzzing. I haven't been to Canada for 21 years, and I can't wait to get back. My family and I are spending 5 days downtown Toronto, 3 days Mississauga and the outskirts where my wife has relatives, and then 3 nights down in Niagara, and I can't wait. From our midfielders, the player that I see the least in IRAOLA's system is Maka. IRAOLA's system is so highly physical, and also I also see Jones clear. It's weird because people have kind of gone back and forth on the Maka thing over the last 24 hours. Some people think he's well suited to IRAOLA's style of play. I would probably more agree with your good self. I think we need more legs in midfield, and I don't think, if this season at least has anything to go by, that's going to be Maka, let alone after another World Cup. What always gets me about players that come from South America is they're always the last ones back from international duty. And on weeks where they're coming back in on a Thursday and you're playing on a Saturday, that always becomes a problem. It was a problem when Jurgen was here. It was a problem, obviously, for Arne Slot. And it's something that I think we need to be mindful of when we talk about bringing in players from South America and stuff like that. If they are going to be travelling so much like that later in than others because of the time differences and stuff, I think we need more youth, more energy in the middle. But I do love Maka. Like you've probably seen in the studio, I've got a signed Maka Argentina shirt. I love Alexis McAllister, but I'd understand it if Liverpool thought we need to refresh a little bit there. Any idea what happened to Cade Gordon? Yes, he's oh no, that wasn't Cade, was it? Sorry, I'm thinking of somebody else. Cade Gordon's been plagued by injuries. It was Trent Cohn-Doherty that went over to Molde, I think it was, in Norway. But Cade Gordon just hasn't been able to really put the injury woes behind him. And even the loan spells, a few of them had to be cut short, I think, which is really unfortunate because there was really high hopes when we brought him in from, I think it was Derby County, if I remember correctly. Thought he looked good for us, then disappeared. Injuries, youth, good prospect. Love your channel. Thank you, Nachos. I think it's injuries more than anything. We seem to have been really unlucky with that, with young players having a lot of constant injuries, whether it's Calvin Ramsey, whether it was Cade Gordon, whether it's Jayden Danns, whether it's Stefan Bajcetic. We just seem to be in this run of young players picking up a lot of fairly consistent injuries. Gogan Barra said that chart spells it out in the bleakest terms. Slot is downhill all the way. Yeah, so this is the chart that gentleman's speaking about. And it is, like, you can't argue with that graph, can you? Well, you start off where 3 points is the peak, obviously, when you come in. Last season, it's still trending down second half of the season, as you can see. So last season is the kind of creamy colour on the left, and then the kind of silvery bluey colour on the right is this season. And that graph does not make for good viewing at all. It's just constantly trending downwards. And as that gentleman said, it's pretty clear. Daniel said, Slot leaving news felt like splitting up with an ex, a relief and weight off my chest. Also, Jones should be sold. He's not good enough, unfortunately. I don't think he's good enough either, but I also have, like, I put Jones in that camp as well with Canade. I've no problem with Jones staying. I can see why a manager would want him around, but I just don't think he'll ever be a starting 11 every week type of player for Liverpool. Maybe I'm wrong. You know, there are a lot of people who think Curtis Jones is underrated. I'm kind of easy on it, but as I said, it will have to be this summer because the way the contract situation is, whether he extends or whether he goes, I think we're getting the decision this summer. Wade Evs said, above all else, I think what needs to click for any new manager going forward is an understanding of the culture Jurgen understood and built upon. Yes, 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 yes. So even Liverpool managers, let's say Gerard Houllier and Rafael Benitez, who may not have been the most emotionally available type coaches, they did ingratiate themselves into the city and the people. And Arne Slot always felt like he was keeping Liverpool and the city at arm's length. And people might say that that doesn't mean much. I think it does at Liverpool. I think you have to have that connection, because there's a reason we speak about that relationship with Liverpool and the manager for the fans being more than the players almost at times. There is that incredible bond that's been there over the years between Liverpool fans and the manager. And when you see a lot of people saying that Anfield got toxic and Liverpool fans maybe have changed, I don't think they have. I just think they knew it wasn't a good fit. And I think you'll see Liverpool fans now revert back to what we would expect and what we've been used to, which is backing the manager as long as they see the graft and effort out there on the pitch. And that's, for me, how simply it all knits together. You come in, you do embrace the city, the city's roots, the people. I think you will be off to a very good start, as whether you're an Everton manager or a Liverpool manager. David, always a pleasure, my friend. Always a pleasure. Good evening to you as well, my man. Thank you so much for dropping in. And I did well not to miss it today, David, because I don't know, mate. You're jinxed with me. I miss your comments, dude, more than anybody else's. All these journals saying it was last minute, turned and it was out of the blue. They honestly have no shame. Martin Samuel's piece was the worst. Oh, thank you for bringing that up. That was a bag of shite. I think even Chris Williams called that piece out. I read that Martin Samuel piece, and here's my take on it. Because I have a Times subscription, because I like Paul Joyce's writing, and I often read what he has to say. But Martin Samuel's piece, for me, came across as somebody who either doesn't really want to write positively about us, or didn't pay much attention to the season under SALAH. It was an absolute piss take of a piece. And I was glad to see a journalist like Chris Williams and others call it out, because it was shit. It really just was a poor piece of journalism, because it gave a very one-sided perspective of a situation that I think is crystal clear when you see us every week. And there seems to be a lot of people who are queuing up to maybe take some cheap shots at Liverpool fans and Liverpool over the last year. You know, some pieces like Dominic King, he's really wound me up as a Liverpool fan with some of the things he's written. And I've said it many times, you know, this was the most toxic season for Liverpool in 16 years, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but there's reason. There's reason. There's always going to be an anomaly that, you know, things happen that don't usually happen. And there's generally a good fucking reason for it. And everybody knew that Liverpool fans weren't connecting with them. And rather than say it got toxic and Liverpool fans got bad, why not ask why it was allowed to go on that long? That's what I would like to see. You know, a journalist may be posing the question of, how did they let it get this bad? How did things get to an irrefutable stance that he has to go? You know, because I know what it took for Liverpool fans to get to that point. And I know none of us enjoyed calling for a manager's head. But these lazy journalistic takes from some, it's just mental. And I've seen, you know, a couple of journalists now even trying to backtrack on them saying that SALAH's going to stay. I don't know what to say to that. You know, these guys lose, some of them lose credibility month on month, week on week, and don't seem to understand why, or refuse to understand why. But I'm delighted. I hope they carry on doing it forever, because it's only just making fan content grow and grow and grow and grow and grow, because all fans want to see is somebody that feels and experiences things like them. Somebody who praises when they need to praise, somebody who criticizes when they need to criticize, and somebody who casts a balanced eye over things. And far too often we just see people parroting the club's opinion, and it's tiresome. It's tiresome because you know why they're doing it. You know why they might have to do it, but don't expect to gaslight us all and then just think we're going to stand there and applaud it as fans. I mean, we can see through that stuff. Will said, do you think it would be a good choice for IRAOLA to bring in an ex-player to work alongside him? I don't know, mate. I just, whatever coaches Andoni Iraola wants to bring in, I hope and I'm sure that the club will work to make sure that that can happen. You know, you want him to have the best setup he can with people he feels comfortable working with and go from there. Underarm for hair said, "Hey Craig, I think Iraola will do well. How are you?" I'm good, mate. I'm feeling far more upbeat than I have for the last few months, but I'm optimistic as well that he'll do well. I don't want to I don't want to set out a goal or an ambition yet because there's a lot still to happen over the summer, a lot of transfer business still to be conducted. But you know, we all just feel now it's a fresh start, and let's look forward to the new season now. And fingers crossed, we can get back to a brand of football that at the very least we can identify with. What would you say to a direct swap with Curtis Jones and Rafael? Both want out, and both clubs value the player at 35 million. I just don't think Rafael is a right fit for Liverpool. Let's say if Rafael and Diamonde came in, I'd probably be like, I want an experienced winger and a young winger, but I just don't think the off the ball work from Rafael would cut it with a manager like Iraola. So that's my take on it. He's a very good footballer, but talk to Milan fans about how they perceive him, and they were really frustrated with him at times because you know there's nothing more frustrating to football fans than talent that doesn't put the graft in, or that they feel like they're playing within themselves and not leaving it all out there on the pitch. And that seemed to be the reaction from a lot of AC Milan fans about him. So I just say no. For me, I just think it's the wrong fit for us. Do you think Salah U-turn would actually be positive, Craig? It would worry me whether he's right or wrong. Era's come to an end, seems right. So for me, Padge, I don't think there should be a revisiting of it. Personally, I don't. You know, he made that decision. The club gave him the send off. And deep down, I actually think Edwards is probably happy to get the money off the wage books for Salah. Um, so I don't like revisiting either. I don't. If you said, look, the irony of me saying I'm offering my resignation and coming back, but there was a reason for all of that because as I said, when I came back, I couldn't tell you I was actually confident I was wrong. I just had doubt. But I think he should carry on now, but whatever his next plans are as well for me, because we got the send off. Wasn't a send off that I think we should have had. I felt a little bit reserved, but yeah, I'm with you. Actually, let's do that. Let's do that for the last poll question. So we asked, will Jones now reconsider leaving? 69% say yes. So let me ask this. So, should Salah now stay? Yes or no? Let's see what the audience thinks about it. So yeah, should Mohamed Salah stay now? Yes or no? How do you feel about Iraola having no European experience? It's definitely not an ideal thing, but there isn't going to be. I don't think there, outside of maybe Enrique, I don't think there is a clear bona fide success. So I think whatever coach you look at, there'll be pros and cons. And yeah, look, that would definitely go in the concern category for Iraola. But just like with a player as well, sometimes you're ready for that next step in your career. And it feels like Iraola's now done enough to get the big move to somewhere. And it's up to him now to make it happen and make it work. He's an experienced football guy from, playing himself to being a coach. He knows the game. And he'll know what the expectations are going to be. He'll know what the physical aspects are going to be. And yeah, maybe he hasn't managed in Champions League, Europa League, or whatever, but it might not really be as big a thing as we think, but then again, it might be. Yeah, so I know I'm giving you a vague answer, but I think it's a question that it's sort of impossible to answer because, it hasn't happened yet. So Alex Crook has now said IRAOLA LFC with a sand timer thing. So yeah, like I said, although it hasn't been confirmed, it defo feels like we're trending towards IRAOLA at this point. 50 ping Skiller, how are you, my man? Said happy to have a pressing style of football again. Same. I was watching a video today of IRAOLA on the training ground with the Bournemouth players, and he was just so hands-on and so involved. It was so refreshing. It was real proper coaching, and vocal, and I thought he got his points across really well. I thought he was a very good communicator. Yeah. And look, I want players to be dreading preseason training. I want them to be put through the hard yard so that when the games come about, they feel that the game intensity is fairly easy and straightforward. I want that. I want Liverpool to be the peak of fitness again. I want us to be pressing monsters again because it's so easy to love that and sit back and enjoy it. Yeah, because it's physical, it's visceral, it fucking lifts the spirit, like, and it brings out that tribal aspect in you. And who didn't love a Conor Bradley challenge on Mbappe, or Andy Robertson chasing Manchester City players, Robertson from one end of the pitch to the other? I fucking love that. I love it. And I hope to see it again. Is it definitely IRAOLA? Any chance at all of Enrique? I really expect Enrique staying, as do journalists. My reading of the situation before the Champions League final was that there's a contract on the table and it'll be sorted out after. And even listening to his words last night, I think he's staying there. So outside of that, is it going to be IRAOLA? I mean, yes, but until you see the announcement from the club, let's just hold off. But it looks like it's 100% trending in that direction at this moment in time. David said, whoever comes in, I just want to see good football. Exactly that, mate. Exactly that. I just want to be able to look at the lads on the pitch and think, yeah, this is us. This is our football. Ben Palmer said, saw a clip of Cesc Fabregas talking about IRAOLA, and he said he really liked how clearly structured and intentional his training sessions was. Yeah, the few bits I've seen of him on the training ground, like I was saying a minute ago, Ben, he looks really, really good. And certainly if I was a player, I'd love that level of instruction as well. Some coaches are sort of hands off, and let's say Kloppo would have Pep Linders doing a lot of the work and stuff like that. IRAOLA really does seems like a hands-on coach. Thundercats Litterbox said, Isak not going to run enough. No way he fits in now. Well, let me say this. If for whatever reason Isak doesn't work out, that's not on Arne Slot. We've got to be honest about that. If Isak doesn't work out for whatever reason, that's on Hughes and Edwards. That's on the recruitment team. They made the decision to go after Isak. Now, of course, the coach has to find a way to make it all work, but it's their necks on the line for that signing for me. Certainly nothing to do with Arne in that regard. So, it's up to the club now to make sure that, one, he comes into the season in as good a physical shape as possible. Got to be mindful of the workload on him. And we also have to be mindful of the fact that he is our centre forward now until Hugo's fit again. And I don't want Cody Gakpo being shoehorned into centre forward position again, because it just does not work. So that's where we're at, unless maybe Will Wright has a good preseason. Jaden Dance has a good preseason. Maybe there's some minutes there. Klopp is irreplaceable and incomparable, but we need somebody at least more open and charismatic than Slot. So I read something earlier. Sorry, I'm still a bit wheezy from this cold. I read something earlier. I think, where was it? It was either in the Athletic or in the Times, and it said that Richard Hughes wasn't a regular at Anfield, but for the Chelsea game, when he was there, at halftime, Arne Slot was heard visibly, or excuse me, was heard getting really stuck into the players, like tearing strips off them in the changing room, and that caused concern because the reaction in the second half was so bad. It was something along those lines. It feels like the more things have come out over the last day or two, it really feels like more and more like this wasn't really in doubt. Like they knew he had to go because they see what we see. Do you see Szoboszlai as our future captain? Yeah, I certainly don't see a reason why not. I think it was LFC Transfer Room. They had a piece saying that there was a conversation started or early negotiations for Szoboszlai, something like that. But yeah, definitely. You know, Dominic Szoboszlai really stepped up in a lot of ways this season. Isak will work with wingers that cross the ball early. Wirtz, Rio and Trey will have a big season coming up, said Michael Barrett. How do you feel yesterday when there was already 5k agenda ins waiting pre-stream? Nervous is how I felt, mate, because I was feeling really sick at that point because I just woke up and I was still clearing mucus without being too disgusting. So I wasn't fully awake yet. So that first stream of the day is still a blur to me because I watched some of it back and I felt like I was a bit of a dick at times. I felt like maybe I gloated a bit too much about being right on things or calling out journalists, and I don't like that look on myself. So I made sure when I came back on for the second stream yesterday evening that I was far better prepared mentally and far better balanced in the way I dealt with it. And I am, like I said, a critic of myself. If I feel like I've been a bit arrogant or a bit petty, I do try to pull myself up on it and catch it. Sometimes I just can't, but it felt amazing to see so many people waiting because, you know, our community is growing and growing and growing. And, you know, you always have imposter syndrome. You don't feel deserving of it. But when you see, like, let me read back out this beautiful comment again from earlier because I focus on negative stuff a lot. And this one is a positive one that caught my eye. And I wanted to again read it out to you guys because just to show you I do take on board the good stuff as well. And somebody said in a comment yesterday, stop making it all about yourself on here. And I kind of don't know how to react to that because the channel is sort of about me. Like, it's about Liverpool, but it's a very different football channel from a lot of other channels because I'm very personable in it. I open up, I talk about my life, I talk about mental health, I talk about favourite foods, I talk about my life, I talk about everything. So sometimes it may end up being about me, but it's never intentionally about me. It's just people buy into a channel because of the journey with someone, I think. And for whatever reason, a lot of people have connected with my journey. And it's never because I'm egotistical, because I'm not. I haven't at all. But anyway, so, and if I ever do come across that way, and you ever do think the channel's gone too much about me, tell me to fuck off. Like, say it to me. You know, remember when they're doing our live shows, I asked you guys as well, what do you want in the live shows? Do you want it to be all football? Do you want it to be a bit of everything? Because I'm open to it. It's your channel. I want you guys to be happy with what you see and what we talk about. Anyway, so this gentleman, Roy Heaney, said, Craig, I'm an ex-professional footballer with Liverpool and then Bolton Wanderers, managed and played abroad. Also played Pro Rugby League for Wigan Warriors and Salford Reds, a very colourful sports history. Gained my FA UEFA coaching badges and I'm currently involved in UK litigation against the sports authorities that have given a diagnosis of probable CTE and early onset dementia because of many acute and subconcussive hits. I just wanted to add, after years of watching and enjoying your channel, please don't ever doubt yourself again. You've built something extremely special and you've only ever been extremely honest. My neurodiverse issue gave me a window into what you go through, but that just makes what you've achieved even more special. Keep the faith, my friend, and keep on being you. That was so beautiful to read. It really hit me in the feels, like, because like I am different. I am wired differently. I keep saying it because it's true. I am neurodiverse. I do have Asperger's. It is who I am. And sometimes I go into a dark place. And sometimes I go into an extremely happy place. But it's all authentic and none of it's done for anything other than I can't hide feelings. You know, when you meet me within a second if I'm in a good mood or a bad mood. My wife doesn't even have to see me open my mouth and she knows what mood I'm in. But that is me. And Donny Mic'd Up is a good watch on YouTube. That was one of the things I watched today, Martin. Yep, I watched that today. It was great. In conjunction with Connor's news. I don't know what you mean by in conjunction with Connor's news. I've no idea what you mean by that comment, Steve. Like, I mean that sincerely. I'm not trying to be a smart arse. I don't know what way you mean the comment. Do you mean the channel about me or in conjunction with Connor's news? Look, I'm going to be honest about it. I built this channel. You know, we built it as a team together, but the community, this is my vision. This is my personality. Connor is an equally valuable member of our team, but in front of camera stuff, this is my domain. Back end stuff, technical stuff, lots of other stuff I couldn't ever do. That's Connor's domain. But I've never hidden away from the fact that I'm very selfish about my audience. I've never fucking hid that. This is my baby in that regard. Like, the whole community thing, that's my vision. But we are a team, me and Connor. I wouldn't want to do this without him and couldn't do this without him. But yeah, this is just the way I see it. This is, you know, my area of I don't want to say expertise, but my natural fit, put it that way. Loved Mo, but he had his time. By legend, said David Massett. I like the IRAOLA rhymes with Guardiola, though. Okay. Fair enough. Dave Sharple said, Craig, we've met many times and you only ever piss me off when you doubt yourself and say you're leaving. Yeah. Sometimes I just take things very much on my own shoulders and think that I need to fall on my sword in that regard. I hear IRAOLA wants a former Liverpool player as part of his coaching staff. If true, that's something I really like to hear. So awesome you're proven right. I'd love, yeah. Look, I honestly, I don't know. I don't know what to expect with his coaching setup and his coaching team. Whatever it is that he wants, I'm sure the club will hope to make it work for him. And if he does want to bring in a former Liverpool player, I think it's something none of us will be unhappy about. But yeah, I'm just open-minded to it all. Whatever he wants to do. Would you sell Isak if it meant we could get Diamonde? No. Would I sell Isak if it meant we could get Julian Alvarez tomorrow? Yes. But then again, that has nothing to do with Isak's first season and all to do with the fact that my dream centre forward signing for Liverpool was Julian Alvarez, because I just think he would have been a great fit. But no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't sell him to get Diamande, no, because we shouldn't need to. A couple of people saying about Thiago. Look, Thiago would be great. I'd love to see Thiago Alcantara as part of the club setup. Yeah, Thiago Alcantara at the football club, at any football club, is only ever a good thing. And that man knows his football. You think we see a different Wirtz next season? I absolutely do, Keith, yeah. Like, let's use Justin Kluivert as an example. See how he progressed under Andoni Iraola as well. I expect Wirtz to really push on under Iraola, yeah, I do. Hey Craig, hope you're well. What's the latest on Iraola to Liverpool? Well, Alex Crook of TalkSport just put the sand timer emoji and said Iraola Liverpool, so it definitely looks like it's trending in that direction. Right, I'm going to fly through these few super chats because I have a news video that I got to get recorded for you guys as well. I love fan channels because they represent the average football fan, which football journalists don't. I agree. And what I love about Liverpool fan content is there are so many variations of it that there is something for people who want tactical stuff. There's something for people who want, you know, only supportive stuff of Liverpool. There's something for people who want debate. I genuinely think that there is so much fan content out there now that everything is catered for. And I'm so proud of the way fan content is going, and I'm you know, it's a pleasure being a small little part of it all, but I love it. You know, I think it's added a lovely dimension to football for me. And I would almost always go towards fan content over mainstream stuff if there was a particular thing I wanted an opinion on. Because you at least get the ability for somebody to speak freely. Now, some people choose not to and some people do, but it's relatable, right? Because we think that the guys and girls that are doing the fan content, they suffer like we suffer, they feel joy like we do, and it just all feels more natural. It doesn't feel like there's an agenda about fan content a lot of the time, until like things like SALAH come about, where then, yes, there's an agenda, but it's more an agenda driven by genuine opinion. Any chance we get Bowen? I hope so, but today, Michael, Chelsea's name I'd seen popping up somewhere around Bowen, but at this point, mate, I just don't know. Does Bajcetic and Dans have a future in the squad? I think Dans does. Ideally alone, probably, though, for him. Bajcetic, it's an interesting one. If my memory's right, I think Bajcetic is going into his last year. So the club will have to make a decision there one way or the other soon. You know, do you let him play out the last year, hope he can stay fit, and if so, maybe give him a new deal? Do you sell now and get a few quid? I don't know what to expect in that regard. That's the honest answer. Have you ordered any of the new Liverpool range considering SALAH is gone? Yes, I was saying earlier on, Aaron, we didn't order any of the shirts because I don't want to order a shirt yet because I'm in between, you know, losing weight and whatever. So I order a couple of t-shirts. I got a tracksuit top. My son got a hoodie. My wife got a hoodie, and then my son got 3 t-shirts. So yeah, the order went in from the Houlden household last night. Iraola really needs to get a new striker this summer. I mean, that's a tough sell, isn't it, Keith? Look, we spent £200 million on strikers. I don't know, man. If it would feel, when we've got other areas that need better adjustments, I can't see striker being a sensible play unless it's somebody like Bowen who can maybe play central at a push and is more of a wide player. It just doesn't feel natural. Yeah, I just don't see it, because it would almost like be admitting they shit the bed last summer. Craig, have you seen Dominic King chatting bollocks today? No, I haven't. Thankfully, thankfully I haven't. No, I try to avoid him and his ideas. I try to avoid it. I was trying to think of a kind word, but yeah, no, I don't like him. First super. Oh, thank you, man. That's really kind of you. Did FSG not sack SALAH till SALAH left? No, I think, like we've said, the problems were there, and they were probably trending towards this anyway. I've never seen something divide pundits as much as the SALAH thing, because fans mainly seem to be all on the same page with it, but pundits really, like, Cara still won't let it go, which I find weird. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it was refreshing honesty personally, and I feel like the fact that so many players liked it or commented on the post shows that they feel the same way, and I thought it gave a really good snapshot of where the dressing room mentality was at. Any news on Adam Morton? Lots of love from Donegal. Thank you, my friend. Nothing new for me. I don't actually know anything. Yeah. Somebody said Chelsea are looking for him earlier on. I just remember David Lynch wrote a piece, or was speaking on a piece, and he said that the deal is there, he thinks, if Liverpool want it. And I agree with the sentiment, but you know, I really don't know what they're working on chronologically now. Like, are they working on the coach only? Are they working on the coach and recruitment? You'd imagine it's both, because some of these things would have been in the works for months now with regards to recruitment. So I think they're probably going to want to get one or two done before the World Cup. And last one from Jaden. Wouldn't doubt Liverpool look at Leao. Now he's leaving Milan. I really do doubt they'd look at him, mate, because look at his stats for off the ball work. It's shocking. Like, I'm not even saying it's bad. I mean, it's beyond bad. It's absolutely shocking how bad he is off the ball and how little he works off the ball compared to what a coach like IRAOLA is going to demand. Now, maybe he could come in and surprise everybody. Maybe he'd be willing to buy into it, because there's no doubt about the talent the lad has as a footballer. So if he was willing to buy into a new manager's plans, cool. Right, folks, let's bring tonight's stream to a close. And we asked, should SALAH now stay? And with nearly 1,700 votes, it's pretty close actually, but 52% of people say no, SALAH should not now stay, and 48% say yes. Right, I've got a news video coming up with some stories that I haven't gone through yet tonight, including Nico Schlotterbeck and a few other bits. That'll be out by 11. Connor will be here in the morning. And don't forget, the first bit of content on Anfield Agenda Extra is going to be going out tomorrow as well. So if you're already subscribed to our Clips channel, that's it. We're repurposing that channel. It'll become Anfield Agenda Extra. But if you haven't, please do search Anfield Agenda Clips and subscribe. And yeah, folks, have a good one. I'll see you tomorrow. Much love. Bye-bye.